Most police calls have an explanation. These didn't.
Anyone inside, make yourself known.
Strange figures, impossible encounters, and moments that turned routine investigations into living nightmares.
Get the away from my door, you motherfucker.
The cameras were rolling, and what they captured still has people questioning what really happened.
Get away from me!
Officers from the Terre Haute Police Department responded to reports of multiple dogs roaming freely and causing concern in a residential neighborhood. Upon arriving, they began moving door to door to gather information and assess the situation. According to reports, the animals repeatedly charged at the officers during their search, showing unusually aggressive behavior.
Get away from me!
The encounters continued as the officers moved through the area, with the dogs reappearing and displaying heightened hostility each time. While the situation was tense and posed clear safety risks, the officers were able to manage the incident without resorting to lethal force. The matter was eventually brought under control after coordinated efforts to secure the area.
Well, there was a woman down here or somebody, and she was captured, kinda.
Remains in trunk. On the 28th of July, 2021, Baltimore PD officers conducted a routine traffic stop after multiple reports of a vehicle emitting a strong, foul odor. The driver, a 33-year-old woman, was checked for registration, but no record was found, leading officers to investigate further as the smell intensified.
Requested not found or on file.
So you don't have a driver license?
No.
Okay. And also, this vehicle is not even registered. Those tags in there are fake tags. This car has to be towed. And how long did you have this car?
Like almost 3.
As the situation developed, Nicole and her companion Bibi exited the vehicle and began removing items from the trunk while awaiting a tow truck. Officers grew increasingly suspicious due to the persistent stench and heavy luggage, prompting a closer inspection, only to find decaying remains of 2 little ones.
No, seriously. What is this right here?
Huh?
What is this?
A bunch of dirty clothes. A bunch of dirty.
That don't smell like dirty clothes.
I'm about to show you. There's a bunch of dirty blankets. But this been sitting in there for months and months and months and months and months.
You're gonna have to, ma'am, I'm honest, you're gonna have to open that up all the way. What? Open that up. Open that up. What the f? Get the f in! Put your hands up! Don't you
The incident escalated as officers continued their investigation and proceeded with arrests after disturbing discoveries.
1110 direct, Eastern Boulevard and Wagner's Lane,
I don't want to hear it! I don't want to hear it! Get up!
Jedha Witch. One of the 2 officers who were called in after there were reports of a woman in distress in the outskirts of Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, filmed this on the 10th of June, 2020. While investigating the area in the darkness, the situation quickly shifted when the figure they encountered did not appear to be in need of assistance. Instead, upon noticing the officers, it reportedly turned and began moving toward them in a steady and unsettling manner, prompting an immediate reassessment of the scene. What began as a welfare check escalated into a rapid withdrawal as both officers moved away from the location. The recorded footage has since circulated widely, drawing varied interpretations and ongoing discussion about what was actually seen. Escalated felony. On the 24th of October 2018, a woman in Oklahoma was arrested after officers linked her to a reported vehicle theft.
It was reported as stolen. Okay? So, you're in possession of it. Your driving status is flagged. So you're not even supposed to be driving, so you're going to jail.
After being handcuffed and placed in the back of a patrol car, she reportedly took advantage of a momentary lapse in attention, reached the driver's seat, and drove off in the police vehicle. Officers pursued her for a short distance before she was captured again near her apartment complex.
Get on the ground!
Following the incident, she made unusual statements suggesting confusion about her identity.
I told you guys I didn't steal that car.
You just stole a police car.
And claimed she may have been under a spiritual influence, adding a strange element to an already unusual case.
You guys told me that I was going to jail for something that I did not do.
Police at haunted house.
I left for a while to go shopping, and when I came home, the door was open. I think somebody broke in.
Concerned neighbors dialed 911 after noticing signs that someone might be inside a home whose owner was reportedly away on vacation. Police officers were dispatched to investigate and carefully search the property upon arrival. At first, they did not locate anyone inside, though they observed unusual occurrences, including a door appearing to open without any visible cause. During the search, some disruptions were noted with the body camera footage.
Police! Anyone inside, make yourself known.
Briefly interrupting the recording at certain moments. As officers were preparing to leave the scene, they reported hearing sudden footsteps approaching from behind, prompting them to quickly turn and reassess the area before continuing their exit. Possessed driver. On the 1st of November, 2021, in Juab County, Utah, Utah Highway Patrol dashcam footage reportedly captured a risky situation on Interstate 15 near Scipio around 12:40 a.m. when a driver was seen traveling the wrong way in the southbound lanes. Dispatch had already alerted troopers after multiple reports of a vehicle moving northbound in the incorrect direction. One patrol unit recorded the suspect passing a trooper head-on in the wrong lane before the officer turned around and pursued using the proper route. When the trooper eventually reached the vehicle, it was already stopped, with the driver appearing completely motionless inside. The unusual stillness of the scene led to confusion as officers assessed the situation and secured the area. Terrifying discovery.
911, make 25 with a pedestrian in the middle of the park.
On the 20th of June, 2021, Las Cruces Police Dispatch received a 911 call.
So I was just driving, right, and then I pulled in top of the park, and I seen there was a body laying on the floor.
Reporting a serious incident at a Little Ones park that immediately drew a rapid emergency response. Upon arrival, officers began investigating the area and reportedly discovered human remains, prompting them to secure and cordon off the scene.
Park blocked off.
It looks old.
Okay.
While establishing the perimeter, officers noticed a man standing nearby, only a short distance from where the investigation was unfolding, and quickly detained him for questioning.
Come over here. Put your hands up. Put your hands up.
According to reports, his behavior during the interaction appeared unusually calm and detached, which raised further concern among responding officers.
Put gloves on this. Yeah, I got gloves. Here you go. Just get at it.
The situation was treated as highly sensitive as investigators continued processing the scene and gathering information.
We need somebody to stay at the intersection to make sure our scene doesn't get contaminated. Smith, get back to the...
Demonically possessed.
Get back!
Disturbance at a Catholic church in Fenimore, Wisconsin, prompted a call to authorities after a visitor began behaving unpredictably during his time inside the building. According to witnesses, the man was breaking things around even as the police arrived. He then repeatedly started to collapse to the floor on purpose. The situation intensified when he allegedly damaged church property, including a religious display, while making unusual statements about himself.
I'm Jesus Christ Almighty!
Okay. Seeing officers, his behavior reportedly became more confrontational, and they intervened after he moved aggressively toward them. The incident sparked speculation among some observers, with a few attributing it to possible spiritual influences, while others believed it was more likely the result of a serious mental health crisis. Demon influence. Authorities in Vernon County responded to a welfare and safety call on December 23 after reports that a woman named Stacy had made alarming statements during a phone conversation and was exhibiting threatening behavior. Upon arriving at the residence, officers found signs of disorder and encountered Stacy in a highly agitated state.
Get the f*** away! Get the f*** away from my door, you motherfucker! Get the
bat down!
According to reports, she behaved unpredictably and aggressively, creating a tense situation that proved difficult to manage. As her actions became increasingly confrontational, officers moved to restrain and secure her.
Get down! Down now! Down! I said down now!
She was eventually taken into custody without further incident. While some observers speculated about unusual factors behind her behavior, authorities treated the matter as a serious behavioral crisis. Stacy was later charged with disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, and reckless behavior.
Take your time. Take your time. All right, you stand up.
Ghostly mist. On the 22nd of September 2018, security officer Jay Brown was working the night shift at a nursing home in Chicago when he reportedly noticed an unusual figure moving near the front desk. According to his account, a pale, shadow-like presence appeared to glide across the hallway, catching his immediate attention.
Look at I saw that shit. I saw that shit.
At first, such sightings are often attributed to lighting issues, reflections, or camera artifacts. But in this case, the officer believed he saw it directly rather than relying on footage alone. The CCTV system also captured a faint moving shape in the same area, adding to the mystery and sparking discussion about what could have caused the unusual appearance.
And I'm like, and then it disappeared over there by the desk.
Unseen pursuer.
Deus, cara! Alan! Meu Deus, Alan!
After a disturbance was heard by a security guard in an underground tunnel that was under construction, decided to check it out. After seeing a pale-skinned creature emerge from the shadows, the creature began crawling toward him, forcing the man to flee. But even as he escaped, it appeared again and again, as if it was locked onto his presence. Witnesses who later saw the footage compared the figure to the Rake, a legendary creature said to live in hidden places. According to stories, the Rake tracks people over time, often appearing at night and feeding on their emotional fear. Stadium Spectre. Security guard Raul Arguello was 32 years old on the 16th of May 2018 when he carried his phone into a dressing room at Tomás Adolfo Ducó Stadium in Buenos Aires, hoping to catch whoever had been repeatedly slamming the door shut without cause. He opened it, found no one, and kept filming. What the footage captured instead was a shadow moving at speed across the bench row from left to right before disappearing directly into the wall, with no reduction in pace and no indication that the solid surface presented any kind of obstacle. Arguello reviewed the clip himself and confirmed he had seen nothing with his own eyes at that moment. The room has given him no reason to return after dark. Station poltergeist. On the 19th of October, 2022, officers at the Ovejeria police station in Osorno, Chile, reviewed security footage after concerns were raised about a possible unauthorized presence in a restricted area. The CCTV recording showed a door opening on its own, with no visible cause or sign of forced entry. Moments later, a faint, indistinct form appeared to drift across the frame before fading out of view. An officer later inspected the location but found the area empty, with the door closed and no evidence of tampering. No clear explanation was ever identified for the incident. After the footage was shared publicly, the station gained attention online, with ongoing debate about what the camera may have captured. Parking anomaly. The camera overlooking the parking lot outside a police station was routine equipment, checked periodically, and rarely showed anything unusual. One night, a desk sergeant monitoring the feed noticed movement in the frame that could not be easily explained. Officers on duty initially considered a lens issue or a camera malfunction, but the footage did not support either possibility. The recording was later released publicly in hopes of finding a rational explanation from viewers. No confirmed explanation has been established, and even those who reviewed the clip professionally reportedly found it unsettling, with the source of the movement remaining unclear. Weird entity. This footage was taken in Mexico City on 17th February 2026, where police officers responded to multiple resident complaints about a woman allegedly causing fear in local neighborhoods, with some claiming she was involved in witchcraft-like practices. When officers located and detained the suspect, the arrest was recorded and later drew significant attention online. Her behavior during the encounter appeared unusual to many viewers, with expressions and reactions that were difficult to interpret. She was taken into custody without further incident, and the allegations were included in the official report. Authorities did not release further details about her activities before the arrest, leaving much of the situation unclear. Zombie Mystery Woman. A viral video from the 5th of May 2021 in Seattle shows a woman walking through the streets in a visibly distressed and unsettling state, drawing attention from passers-by. Witnesses described her appearance as extremely pale, with darkened facial features that alarmed those nearby. Police officers reportedly approached her to assess the situation, but she appeared unresponsive to questions and continued moving away while shouting. Paramedics were later called to assist and eventually managed to restrain her for safety and evaluation. Authorities later identified her as Kimberly Kasai, and the incident was treated as a medical and behavioral emergency rather than anything supernatural, despite online speculation. Hawkins Lab.
It's moving, I can see it. It's closing.
A group of teenage security workers reportedly captured unusual footage near a facility known as Hawkins Lab in Georgia after noticing strange activity during their patrol. According to their account, a nearby door began opening and closing on its own, despite the absence of wind or visible cause, prompting them to start recording. As the situation continued, they noticed a still figure standing on a balcony, appearing to observe them in silence.
Is that a person?
Yeah, we're gonna save ourselves. Don't worry.
What is that?
The figure was described as humanoid, dressed in dark clothing, and wearing a white mask. Feeling alarmed by the encounter, the group chose to leave the area quickly before the situation escalated further.
It's opening. It's opening. It's opening. No, fuck that.
Weird woman.
You okay? You're okay? What's your name?
At a laundromat, staff reported a woman acting in an unusual and disruptive manner, prompting police to be called to the scene. When officers arrived, they observed her standing in an odd, rigid posture, while repeatedly performing the same unusual hand movements.
Can I just see it so I know who I'm talking to if you're not going to tell me who your name is?
Attempts to communicate with her initially received no response, and officers assessed whether substance use might be a factor, though no clear signs were immediately confirmed. After some time, she suddenly returned to a more normal state of awareness. She was then asked to leave the property due to her behavior and later taken for medical evaluation, though the exact cause of the incident was not determined.
You are now being informed that your presence at this address is no longer permitted.
Traffic stop arrest. After a pickup truck failed to yield to pedestrians on a sidewalk, a police officer initiated a traffic stop. The officer initially suspected impairment and asked the occupants to step out for further assessment.
Drop what you have. Leave it in the car. Leave your purse in the car.
Okay.
Step out.
My underwear?
Step out.
Okay.
Everything. Stop moving and step out of the car.
Okay. My underwear?
Walk back here. I'm not going to play these games with you. You think I'm stupid? You think I didn't see a red straw sitting there on the seat right there that you tried grabbing and hiding with your underwear?
Straw you drink out of.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure that's exactly what it is.
That's not my straw.
It's not your straw.
During the interaction, one of the passengers appeared visibly erratic, and officers noted suspicious behavior, along with the discovery of a concealed straw, raising further concern.
It only looks worse because you specifically grabbed it and tried hiding it from me and moving it when I saw it.
I just grabbed my underwear.
Right?
Yes.
You did not. It was clear as day.
As tensions increased, both individuals became defensive, leading officers to separate them for questioning.
He had somebody in his truck that gets fucking high. I've been clean, okay? I just got pulled over for weed by the 3 cops. You can ask, because I have court next month for, okay? I go to the methadone clinic.
The straw?
When you asked me, I felt it. I was like, what is that? And that's when I grabbed my underwear. I was like, fuck, bro. It's not my straw.
It's not your straw.
It's not my straw.
Okay.
I promise.
Is it his?
No, it's not. It's his friends.
It's his friends?
Yes, I was at the house.
Okay. And what do they do with that straw?
I think he does fat and meth.
He does fat and meth?
Yeah.
After interviews and a search of the vehicle, both occupants were placed under arrest, with charges later filed based on their involvement and statements provided during the investigation.
Why does he have a are you sure it's like coke?
I'm positive. I just tested it.
Hovering ghost?
เนี่ยดูไงมันก็ใช่เหี้ยใช่ป่ะล่ะ
A security camera at a Malaysian police station reportedly captured an unusual event near the entrance, where a dark, indistinct figure appeared to hover above nearby trees before drifting toward the station and then disappearing without explanation. Hours later, officers on duty at the front desk experienced further disturbances when both entrance doors suddenly swung open on their own. As one officer approached to check the area, the door reportedly closed by itself. He searched the surroundings, but found no sign of any intruder. The incident left officers confused and unsettled, and similar unexplained occurrences have since been informally reported at the location, though no official cause has been confirmed. Shadow spawning. Police officers in Mumbai, India, reportedly shared footage from a checkpost showing an unsettling incident during his night duty on the 18th of June, 2021. According to the account, he heard unusual sounds coming from behind a fenced brick wall, prompting him to inspect the area despite no clear sign of entry. The camera then captured what appeared to be a pair of legs emerging unexpectedly in the dim light, with no visible upper body. The figure seemed to step backward before disappearing toward a nearby pond. The incident left the officers uneasy, and they chose to avoid patrolling that section for the remainder of the night due to the unexplained and disturbing nature of what they observed. Investigators' discovery. Former police detective turned private investigator Ali Eslan was reportedly searching for a missing relative when his investigation led him to an abandoned guest house on the outskirts of Cairo, Egypt. As he carefully explored the dark, empty building, he began hearing unusual sounds echoing through the structure, which he initially assumed were caused by heavy rain outside. However, upon leaving the property, he noticed something unsettling nearby. A shadowy silhouette appeared to be standing in the distance, seemingly observing his movements. The encounter left him uncertain whether the figure had been present the entire time or had only just appeared after he exited the building, adding further mystery to the already tense search. Frankenstein passenger.
Reappearing and disappearing. Like 5 minutes ago, it
While driving through Boston, an off-duty officer and his wife reportedly witnessed an unusual sight inside a nearby moving vehicle. As they traveled alongside it, They noticed a large, dark figure seated in the rear passenger area, visible through the window. The figure had a rigid, skull-like appearance that struck them as unnatural and unsettling, resembling a mask-like or Frankenstein-style face, rather than a normal passenger. According to their account, it remained completely still and faced forward as the car continued through traffic. The couple began recording the scene from their own vehicle, but the other car eventually moved ahead and disappeared.
It reappeared, and nobody has been outside. The neighbors haven't been outside.
Haunted garage. Police reportedly reviewed security footage from an unused garage at a station after discovering the door had been left mysteriously ajar on the 16th of April, 2018. The recording, taken in the early morning hours around 5:30 a.m., shows the garage door slowly opening on its own, despite the area appearing empty and quiet. Moments later, a broom inside the garage appears to move forward and exit the space without any visible human contact. It briefly remains upright before falling and making a final, abrupt motion across the ground. Officers later described the incident as deeply unsettling while reviewing the footage, and it quickly spread online, drawing widespread speculation about what could have caused the unusual sequence of events. Kansas creature. During search and rescue operations for a convicted felon who vanished in a remote stretch of Kansas on January 13, 2025 took a deeply unexpected turn when the K-9 unit's accompanying officers suddenly locked onto something none of them were prepared to encounter. Deep in the tree line, the dogs brought the team face to face with a creature that looked unlike any known animal, reacting with hostility and moving in a way that forced officers to make the decision to take it down. What they recovered afterward was never officially identified, and no statement was ever released. Whether it was an unknown species, something extraterrestrial, or simply beyond classification remains an open question. Ghost driver? Dash cam footage from a police pursuit caught the moment a fleeing vehicle suddenly veered off the road following a series of strange flashes visible through its windows, before grinding to a complete and unexplained stop. Officers approached with caution, expecting a suspect behind the wheel. What they found instead was an empty car, doors shut, engine running, with absolutely no indication of how anyone could have exited unseen. The flashes preceding the halt had no identifiable source, and the vehicle itself showed no mechanical fault that could account for the abrupt stop. Locals who later heard the account had only one explanation. The driver, they said, was never human to begin with. Bodycam blackout. After hearing sounds of distress from an abandoned place during a late-night patrol, an officer in Russia decided to check it out on the 26th of June 2023. His body camera captured the search as he cautiously moved through the dark and seemingly empty building, calling out while looking for anyone who might need help. For several moments, nothing unusual appeared, but a deep and unsettling sound soon became audible on the recording. Witnesses who later reviewed the footage claimed the noise seemed to draw closer as the officer advanced further inside. The incident ended abruptly when something struck the camera, causing the video to cut to black. What the officer encountered in those final seconds remains unexplained. Graveyard emergence.
Hablar comunicación porque le da autoridad para que pueda hacer algo.
Cemetery guards in Colombia reported something that stopped them mid-patrol on the 13th of November 2024. According to their testimony, a woman emerged from one of the tombs during the night, standing silently in the darkness for a brief moment before disappearing from view. Security footage recorded near the site at approximately 2 a.m. appeared to support the claim, showing a crouched figure near the perimeter. Experts who reviewed the footage suggested the shape could belong to a living person rather than something paranormal. The guards, however, stood firmly by what they had witnessed, and the footage continued circulating long after any rational explanation was offered.
Los movimientos que ella está haciendo, efectivamente se comprueba que no es un...
Gate Phantom. Following reports of repeated disturbances at a cemetery in Orleans, authorities installed surveillance cameras across multiple entry points and waited. Late one night, the footage captured a young girl appearing without warning near the front entrance, moving with an unnatural gait before passing directly through the sealed iron gate bars like she was a ghost. Several minutes later, the same figure surfaced at a second entrance on the opposite side of the grounds and exited just as effortlessly. Then, without warning, it dissolved into smoke and was gone. No alert had been triggered at either gate. No one had entered or left through any conventional means. The cameras recorded it all. Raised hands.
Step out of the vehicle.
Patrolling the streets of Wisconsin well past midnight, an officer noticed a blue car with suspicious activity and decided to approach. He activated his high beams to get a better look before stepping out, and what he saw in that wash of light stopped him in his tracks. He then addressed the occupants over his radio and instructed them to raise their hands.
Hands in the air. Do not face us.
The response he received was not what any standard encounter would produce, and the footage he captured has since raised questions no traffic stop should ever have to answer.
You need to go, dude. This is so
Daylight shadow. This security guard, who was heading home after his shift at an apartment complex in Shanghai, China, in broad daylight, had no reason to expect anything out of the ordinary. Yet footage reviewed afterward revealed that one of the guards had been followed for an extended stretch of the patrol by a shadow moving independently from behind him, hovering slightly above the ground and matching his pace with deliberate consistency. The guard remained completely unaware throughout the entire recording. Whether it lost interest or simply stopped being visible is unclear, because at some point during the footage, it vanished as quietly as it had appeared. Patrolling guard jumped. Camera footage dated the 4th of August, 2021, shows a security guard working the night shift at the City Hall building in Armenia, Colombia, making his routine rounds when something launched itself at him without warning. The encounter was captured on camera and showed the guard reacting with immediate and visible panic as what appeared to be a fast-moving, formless presence struck him from an unexpected direction. He stumbled, attempted to regain his footing, and clearly struggled to process what had just happened to him. No person was found nearby, and nothing in the environment accounted for the force or movement captured in the footage. The clip spread quickly, and the City Hall has since carried a reputation that its staff finds difficult to dismiss. Co-worker's spirit. Surveillance footage from a workplace recorded something that only became disturbing once the full context emerged. The video shows a man engaged in what appears to be a conversation, gesturing and responding as though someone were standing directly in front of him. The room, however, was empty. When colleagues reviewed the footage and questioned him, he explained without hesitation that he had been talking to his work partner. The problem was that his partner had died just hours earlier from stomach cancer. Whether the man was unaware at the time, or whether something else entirely was present in that room, remains a matter the footage alone cannot settle, and those who have seen it tend to ask the same question. Mysterious creature hiding. An off-duty police officer in Phoenix, Arizona, was doing a routine check of a quiet area on the 7th of April, 2026, when his flashlight landed on what he initially took to be a trash bag on the ground. Something about it prompted him to look more carefully. As he moved closer, the object shifted in a way no discarded bag ever should. Revealing itself to be a small humanoid figure that had been using the shape as camouflage. The moment it registered that it had been spotted, it bolted, crossing open ground at a speed that left the officer standing in silence. The footage has since circulated widely, splitting viewers cleanly between those who believe it entirely and those who cannot. Paranormal shadow.
For electricity. Whoa, something just changed. Did you just see that?
After a neighbor reported movement inside a property that had been listed for sale in Maine, police arrived to find the house already announcing itself in unusual terms, with lights flickering and flashing throughout the interior for no identifiable reason. Despite the clear irregularity of what they were walking into, the officers proceeded inside. What the footage captured next was the unmistakable silhouette of a figure descending the staircase, moving at a measured pace before disappearing from the frame entirely. No one was found on the premises. The lights continued behaving the same way as the officers conducted their search. The house remains on the market, and the recording remains without an official explanation.
What changed? One of the lights paused for a second.
Mysterious parking creature. 2 officers ending an early morning shift had stopped in a Los Angeles parking lot for coffee when unusual sounds began coming from nearby. Moments later, a strange creature emerged from beneath a parked car and moved into view. The officers' reaction suggested it was unlike anything they had encountered before. The brief clip offers no clear explanation of what was seen, and no official identification was ever made. Since then, viewers have put forward a wide range of theories about the mysterious figure captured on camera. Mystery in dark. A state trooper conducting a nighttime traffic stop was captured on dashcam footage during an incident reported in 2015. The video shows the officer approaching a parked vehicle and shining a flashlight toward it when an unusually bright light suddenly appears nearby. Moments later, the trooper is no longer visible in the frame. The footage then shows the vehicle pulling away from the scene without any obvious disturbance. According to accounts surrounding the clip, investigators found no clear signs of a struggle and no sounds suggesting what had occurred. The circumstances recorded on the dashcam have never been fully explained, leaving viewers to speculate about what happened. Basement apparition. This next clip was recorded by night security, who had grown suspicious after noticing objects mysteriously shifting around in the basement of an old pub in Manchester. With no clear reason for why it kept happening, they finally decided to set up a security camera. And one evening, the camera picked up this. The face of a figure, or perhaps something else, emerged from the shadows under the staircase. When the owners saw the recording, they were left deeply unsettled. Convinced that a dark presence was tied to the unsettling noises, they now believe the basement of the old building may be under some kind of possession. What took place afterward remains a mystery. Parking phantom. A security guard doing his usual late-night rounds at an airport parking lot in 2023 decided to film his shift probably just out of boredom. What ended up on that footage was anything but boring. A figure appeared out of nowhere in the deserted lot. No doors opening, no footsteps, just there. It moved slowly toward him, then shifted direction without warning. The really unsettling part was how it kept fading in and out, like it wasn't fully solid. The guard filed a report, but by the time anyone reviewed the tape, the figure had simply vanished from the frame mid-step. No explanation was ever given. Gate ghost? The airport is completely shut down. No flights, no staff, nothing. And yet, the turnstile gate at one of the boarding areas starts moving on its own. A security guard caught it all on his phone, and the most chilling part of what he says, this isn't the first time he'd seen it before. Colleagues had seen it before. The gate spun like someone was walking through it, paused, then moved again, as if a second person followed right behind. No wind, no mechanical fault found afterward. Staff at that terminal quietly started requesting different shifts. Blue formation. A passenger on a late-night flight pulled out his phone to film the dark sky outside his window and captured something that's been debated ever since. A cluster of blue orbs hung in the sky, arranged in a near-perfect circular pattern. One of them glowed significantly brighter than the others. The question people kept going back and forth on, were these individual objects flying in formation, or was it one massive craft, and those orbs were actually its running lights? Whatever it was, it held that formation without drifting for the entire time it was on camera before disappearing all at once. Shadow walker? CCTV footage from an airport terminal at midnight caught something moving through the empty hallways that nobody could properly identify. The figure was enormous, taller than any doorframe in the shot, and moved with a strange, gliding motion that didn't quite match how a normal person walks. It appeared shadowy and undefined, which some people pointed to as evidence of something non-human. Others suggested the camera was simply old and low resolution, struggling to capture a person in poor lighting. That's possible. But then you look at the scale of the figure against the hall itself, and that excuse gets harder to believe. Metallic probe? An airline passenger filmed what appeared to be a small, perfectly spherical metallic object gliding beneath the plane at cruising altitude. It wasn't a bird. It wasn't a balloon. It moved with purpose and kept pace briefly before dropping away. The footage is short but remarkably clear. UFO researchers said it matched the profile of what some call a probe, a small, unmanned craft sent ahead of something larger. Whether that theory holds any weight or not, the FAA received no reports that day of any known object in that airspace, so what exactly was underneath that plane? LaGuardia drones? In late 2024, reports started flooding in from pilots and ground staff at LaGuardia Airport in New York about mysterious drones hovering over the runways. These weren't toy drones. They were operating at restricted altitudes, navigating around flight paths with what looked like deliberate awareness. The FAA was notified, the Port Authority got involved, and yet no operator was ever identified. No footage from the airport's own cameras was released to the public. Some aviation experts floated the idea that these weren't drones at all, that the drone label was the easiest explanation available for something that behaved like no consumer or commercial drone they'd ever tracked. Cloud giant? Passengers on a flight cruising at 33,000 feet above southern China filmed something surreal out their windows in early 2025. A massive cloud formation had taken the shape of a towering human figure, arms, torso, a head rising above the cloud layer and stretching what appeared to be thousands of feet into the air. Meteorologists were quick to explain it as cumulonimbus clouds shaped by sunlight and angle. Most people accepted that, but a few pointed out that the proportions were almost too perfect, too symmetrical to be random weather. Whatever it was, the passengers on that flight said it looked like something was standing just above the world, watching. Wing shockwave. Passengers aboard a Brazilian airliner filmed something strange forming near the wing of the aircraft as it cruised above the clouds. What appeared to be a circular object began to take shape, a distortion in the air, a ring before it released what looked like a shockwave or sonic pulse outward into the sky. Some aviation experts said it was a rare atmospheric effect, moisture in the air reacting to the aircraft's pressure. Others weren't convinced. The distortion formed too far from the wingtip, in clear air, with no weather event nearby. A few viewers went further, suggesting something invisible had been following the plane and briefly made itself known. Louisville lights? A man near Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport in Kentucky stepped outside one night and heard something that stopped him cold, a massive boom coming from the direction of the airport. Seconds later, every street light in his view started blinking rhythmically, almost like they were synced.
It's like the parking lot's becoming a disco.
It won't be put to work, quote-unquote.
He grabbed his camera and filmed it. The blinking continued for several minutes in a steady, repeating pattern before everything went back to normal. Power surges can cause lights to flicker, sure, but rhythmically, in sync. The airport issued no statement. No storms were reported that evening, and the boom that preceded it was never explained. Hair ritual? A clip involving an Indian actress at an airport went viral after people noticed something in the background. As the actress greeted a fan and turned to leave, another woman standing nearby reached out and appeared to brush her fingertips through the actress's hair. At normal speed, you'd miss it entirely, but when the video was slowed down, It was deliberate. Experts in traditional rituals said hair is one of the most commonly sought personal items. Used in certain harmful practices, it carries the target's identity. Fortunately, a slow-motion review showed her fingers came up empty. But the intention behind that quiet, calculated reach, that's what unsettled everyone watching. Red glow. A woman filming at LAX zoomed her camera toward the runway and caught something coming through a gap between two concrete tiles, a red, pulsing glow from underneath. It wasn't a light fixture. It wasn't a reflection. It came from below the surface and had a strange rhythm to it, almost like it was breathing. People immediately started debating what could possibly be down there. LAX sits above an area rumored to contain tunnels and underground infrastructure from decades of expansions. Some went further, comparing the footage to what an underground test facility might look like if something was being contained beneath one of the busiest airports in the world. Shadow seat. Staff on a Malaysian Airlines aircraft were filming inside the empty cabin before boarding began. The phone moved slowly down the aisle past row after row of vacant seats. Then, something in one particular row shifted. A dark, shadowy shape was sitting there, not in front of the seat, not a bag left behind, but settled in it like a passenger. When they rewound the clip, it became clearer. The shape seemed to pull back as the camera passed, almost deliberately tucking itself behind the headrest. The crew member filming it didn't notice anything at the time. It was only on playback that everyone in the room fell completely silent. Flash arrival. Late-night security footage from an airport elevator captured something that has no rational explanation on offer. The elevator dinged and the doors slid open. For a full second, it was empty. Then there was a flash of light inside the cab, and a man was standing there. He walked out calmly, like nothing had happened. Frame-by-frame analysis confirmed it. He did not step into the elevator before the doors opened. He simply appeared inside it after a burst of light. The footage was uploaded to a Chinese video platform in 2018 and quietly spread for years before gaining wider attention. The man has never been identified. Portal device. Someone wandering an airport filmed a device sitting in the open on a concrete surface, round, glowing, wired up, and clearly active. As they moved closer, the blinking of its lights sped up and a low buzzing sound intensified. On the other side of the object, what looked like a runway-style road stretched out into the distance. Then the air around the device started to twist. The camera glitched. Everything went black. The clip simply ends there. People argued for weeks over whether the footage was edited or real. What nobody could explain was the road visible on the other side. A road that, by the layout of the airport, shouldn't have been there at all. Manchester orb. A pilot preparing for departure at Manchester Airport filmed a metallic silver orb hovering silently near the tarmac. He estimated it was roughly the size of a compact car. It made no sound and showed no visible propulsion. When ground security started moving toward it, the orb shot straight upward at a speed that left no time to track it. Gone in under a second. The footage was shared with aviation authorities and UFO research groups. What struck analysts wasn't just the speed, it was the silence. Any conventional aircraft of that size producing that kind of vertical acceleration would be deafening. This thing left without a sound. Orb returns. The Manchester orb came back, this time at night, hovering directly over the main runway. Staff watched from the terminal windows as it drifted slowly back and forth across the airfield, not erratically, but methodically, like it was scanning the surface below. It would hold position, drift left, pause, then reverse. At one point it descended slightly before correcting itself and continuing the pattern. Nobody on the ground could explain what it was doing or why it had returned. After about 10 minutes, it simply ascended and vanished into the overcast sky. Runway operations were paused both times. No official statement connecting the two events was ever released. Russian streaks. A passenger on a flight over Russia filmed bright streaks of light cutting through the atmosphere at extreme speed. They weren't falling randomly, they moved in precise, controlled arcs, weaving between cloud layers before disappearing. The footage spread quickly, and people split into two camps immediately. One side said it was burning debris re-entering from orbit, a meteor shower, or military ordnance testing. The other side said the trajectories were too controlled, too deliberate for any of those explanations. What nobody disputed was how fast they were moving. Whatever produced those streaks wasn't coasting, it was navigating. Tarmac permission? A clip surfaced showing what appeared to be a UFO gliding slowly over a restricted tarmac at an airport in the United States. What stood out immediately was the response, or lack of one. No security vehicles moved. No alarm was triggered. No aircraft scrambled. The object drifted across the restricted zone at low altitude, hovered briefly near a hangar, then shot vertically into the sky without a sound. Viewers who analyzed the footage noted that airport security in that zone runs 24 hours. Cameras cover every inch of that tarmac, and yet nobody reacted. Some researchers suggested the most unsettling possibility that no one reacted because they already knew it was coming. Sky recovery? A local filmed something dropping from the sky in broad daylight, trailing thick smoke as it fell toward the ground near an airport perimeter. Within minutes, not hours, a pair of military jets appeared and began circling the area where the object had come down. They made tight, low passes, clearly searching for something. Then they left. No press statement followed. No wreckage was ever shown publicly. The speed of the military response was what caught people off guard most. They were on scene before most civilians had even finished uploading the video. That kind of reaction time suggests prior knowledge, not a scramble. Hangzhou shutdown. On the 7th of July 2010, Shaoshan International Airport in Hangzhou, China, came to a complete stop. Pilots radioed in reports of a UFO hovering above the runway. 6 outbound flights were grounded. 12 inbound flights were redirected to Ningbo, Wuxi, and Shanghai. Nearly 1,000 passengers were stranded. Video from that night showed a formation of lights, one cigar-shaped object in the center with flashing lights, 2 circular objects flanking it, and a smaller one orbiting one of the orbs in a slow loop. The Civil Aviation Administration launched an investigation. Over a decade later, the object remains officially unidentified, and none of the original footage has ever been fully explained. Child mirage? A security guard stationed alone at a closed airport heard something that made every instinct in him fire at once, the sound of a child crying echoing through the empty terminal. He followed the sound toward the main windows facing the runway and spotted what looked like a small kid standing there in the dark. He called out. No response. He moved closer. And as he got within about 10 feet of the figure, it was simply gone. The crying stopped instantly. He searched the entire terminal for nearly an hour and found nothing. No child, no sign anyone had been there. He submitted a full incident report. The airport has no record of anyone entering that night. Denver banners. A passenger walking through Denver International Airport on his way to a gate stopped when something on the wall caught his eye. The banners lining the corridor weren't advertising flights or destinations. One displayed a prominent Illuminati-style eye symbol with the words construction or cover-up printed beneath it in bold. The next banner showed a reptile dressed in human clothing. Denver Airport already carried a reputation for strange art and conspiracy connections, but these banners felt different, too direct, too on the nose to be accidental. Some said it was tongue-in-cheek humor from the airport's PR team. Others said that's exactly what you'd want people to think. Chicago orbs. On December 16th, during a flight from Chicago to Newark, a passenger spotted something outside his window that kept him glued to the glass for hours. Brilliant yellow orbs floated in a loose cluster above the cloud layer, completely stationary. They weren't moving with the wind, they weren't rising or falling. They just stayed there, glowing steadily. He filmed them at sunset, then again after dark, and they were still in position like anchored stars above the clouds. Flight crew were notified, but no announcement was made to passengers. The lights were visible for so long that the man estimated they held position for over 2 hours before the plane's angle finally moved them out of view. Flight terror. Passengers on a commercial flight watched in shock as a British man suddenly leapt to his feet mid-flight, pointed at the person sitting directly next to him, and started screaming. His hands were shaking. His face was white. He couldn't form a full sentence, just fragments of words, pointing and backing away down the aisle. Flight attendants rushed over as he kept insisting he needed off the plane, pressing himself against the emergency exit door and yelling for it to be opened. Whatever he saw in that seat beside him, his neighbor appeared completely confused and calm, but the man was absolutely convinced he was sitting next to something that wasn't human. Door slam? A video posted to Reddit by a security officer working at an empty American Airlines terminal showed CCTV footage that stopped everyone who watched it cold. A heavy service door, the kind that requires either a code or a key card to open and takes real force to move, swung wide open on its own. The terminal was confirmed empty at the time. No staff, no passengers, no cleaning crew on that level. The force with which the door moved wasn't the slow drift of a loose seal. It flew open like someone had shoved it hard from the other side. Whatever was on the other side of that door, it didn't come through. But something definitely pushed. Dubai elevator? At Dubai International Airport on the 8th of February, 2021, 2 crew members stepped into an elevator together. Security reviewed the footage, later routine check. The elevator appeared completely empty before they entered and showed nothing unusual as they rode it. But when they stepped out and the camera caught the space they'd just vacated, something was standing exactly where one of them had been. A figure, still just there. It hadn't been visible when they boarded, hadn't moved the entire ride, and disappeared in the next frame. The elevator was taken out of service shortly after the footage circulated among airport staff. No official explanation was ever released to the public. Mass vanishing. CCTV footage from an airport terminal showed something that looked, at first glance, like a camera glitch. During a routine security sweep, a man walking through the frame simply disappeared mid-step. No blur, no transition there, 1 second, gone the next. The people around him froze. Then, almost simultaneously, several more people in the waiting area vanished the same way, all within seconds of each other. Onlookers can be seen in the footage looking at the empty spaces where people had just been standing, completely paralyzed. Airport security reviewed the tapes multiple times. The individuals were not found in any other part of the terminal that night. Denver timeline. A woman waiting for her flight at Denver International Airport fell asleep in the terminal. When she woke up, something felt immediately wrong.
I'm so tired and I don't know if I'm imagining this, but
She looked around and realized she was surrounded only by blind people. Every single person walking past was using a white cane and wearing dark glasses, with no sighted person among them as far as she could see in any direction.
I think everyone at this airport is blind, and I'm really confused.
She described it as waking up in a completely different version of reality. Some people said it was simply a group traveling together under an assistance program. Others weren't so easy to convince, especially given that Denver Airport already had a well-established reputation for things that don't quite add up.
I think everyone at this airport is blind, and I'm really confused.
Vanished plane? A CCTV camera at Boston Logan Airport captured what looked like a completely routine takeoff. The aircraft accelerated down the runway, lifted off, climbed, and then wasn't there anymore. No gradual fade from the camera's view, no cloud cover obscuring it. One frame it was climbing, the next frame the sky was empty. No debris, no contrail, no tracking data showing where it went in the seconds that followed. Aviation experts who reviewed the footage suggested a camera dropout or compression glitch, but the surrounding frames showed no other visual artifacts. Everything else in the shot was crisp and continuous, only the plane disappeared. Tianjin swarm. Tianjin Airport in China shut down operations after witnesses on the ground and in the air reported a swarm of unidentified objects hovering over the facility. Passengers filming from the terminal caught dozens of blinking lights in the sky, moving in loose but organized clusters. There were too many to track individually. Air traffic control diverted all incoming flights and grounded departures until the objects cleared the area. Chinese aviation officials initially classified the objects as commercial drones, but no operator or registered device ever matched the flight data. The sheer number of them and the coordinated way they held their positions made the drone explanation extremely difficult to defend. Black smoke. Passengers on a Boeing 787 Dreamliner over Los Angeles watched through their windows as something large passed below them, releasing thick black and white smoke in alternating bursts as it moved in a perfectly straight line. At first, some thought it was a chemtrail from another aircraft, but the scale was wrong. This thing was enormous, and it moved with the slow, deliberate pace of something that wasn't in a hurry. Then, it tilted downward at an angle that no conventional aircraft holds during level flight and disappeared. The smoke trail lingered behind it like a scar in the sky, marking exactly where it had been before it was gone. Phoenix Tail. On January 1st, over Phoenix, Arizona, a passenger on a commercial flight filmed 3 glowing orbs trailing their aircraft. They stayed at a consistent distance behind the plane, close enough to see clearly, far enough to avoid radar detection at the time. The orbs maintained that spacing for several minutes without any variation in the gap. Then the passenger went quiet. He stopped posting. His social media, which had been active up until he boarded that flight, went completely silent after he uploaded the video. Followers who knew him said they couldn't reach him. His last post was the Phoenix footage, and after that, nothing.
Look at that, they're in a triangle shape now. What the heck is that?
Cleveland Voices. In September 2025, a woman waiting alone at Cleveland Hopkins International Airport in Ohio started hearing low growls echoing through the empty terminal. She pulled out her phone to record. As the clip rolls, the sounds shift from animal-like growls into something deeper voices, guttural and completely unrecognizable as any language she knew. She posted the recording, and it blew up overnight. What made it more disturbing was the response in the comments. Multiple other people said they'd recorded similar sounds from the same terminal at different times on different nights. Something in or beneath that airport was making noise, and nobody from Cleveland Hopkins ever addressed it publicly. Phuket Shadows. A camera at Phuket International Airport in Thailand, the kind that connects a terminal door to a plane's cabin door. Except there was no plane. The bridge extended into empty air, attached to nothing on the other end. And yet, shadowy figures could be seen moving across it, running, actually in the direction you'd board a flight. Nobody was scheduled to be there. The airport was operating a reduced overnight schedule, and that gate was closed. Some viewers connected it immediately to the Phuket air disaster of 2007, wondering if what the camera caught were passengers still trying to board a flight that never made it back. Spirit Screams. On the 3rd of April, 2024, a woman in one of the middle rows started screaming, not in pain, not in fear of a specific thing, just screaming without stopping. Passengers near her said her expression wasn't distressed so much as completely absent, like she wasn't there anymore behind her eyes. The crew tried to calm her. Nothing worked. Police were eventually called to the gate, and when she still refused to stop or comply, the decision was made to deplane every other passenger so she could be removed. Those who were on board said the sound she made didn't change once the entire flight, same pitch, same rhythm, no pause for breath that anyone noticed. Brussels void. Passengers on a transatlantic flight bound for Belgium, the announcement informed everyone on board that Brussels airport had been shut down, all airports in Belgium actually, and that nobody was sure where they'd be redirected.
Over the airport of Brussels. So Brussels closed. The airport is closed, but not only.
What unsettled people wasn't the news itself. It was the voice delivering it. Flat, measured, weirdly calm.
All Belgium airports are closed. So we are not going right now to Belgium.
In a way that didn't sound natural. Passengers near the front said it barely sounded like a person at all. Theories circulated in the cabin: mechanical failure, a hijacking, something worse.
We have 5 more minutes to decide whether we're going to Lille or somewhere else.
There is still no official documentation about what caused that closure, what flight was rerouted where, or who made that announcement.
A lot of fuel, so we will have to land, however, somewhere.
Office apparition. Airport security cameras captured footage inside a closed office at the middle of the night that left the entire staff shaken for weeks. The room was empty. Then it wasn't. A figure was seated in the chair with its back to the camera. For several seconds, nothing moved. Then, slowly, very slowly, it turned around. What faced the camera had a corpse-gray complexion, hollow eyes that seemed to catch the low light like glass, and was wearing a white robe that looked soiled, dirty, in a way that suggested it hadn't come from storage. The recording cut off there. The office was found locked the following morning. Nobody had the access code except 2 staff members, both of whom were confirmed off-site. El Paso orbs. On the 6th of February, 2026, footage began circulating online, showing glowing orbs hovering silently above the horizon near El Paso International Airport in Texas. Within hours of the video spreading, the FAA shut down the region's airspace. Officials said a balloon had drifted into restricted airspace. People who watched the footage weren't buying it. The objects in the video held completely still. No drift, no altitude change, nothing that matched the behavior of a balloon caught in wind. El Paso sits near Fort Bliss and Biggs Army Airfield. With that much military infrastructure nearby, people assumed the government had a better reason for the shutdown than a stray weather balloon and was choosing not to share it. Possessed screamer. An airport terminal in Europe became the center of a disturbing scene when a woman in the departure lounge suddenly began screaming for no apparent reason. Other passengers backed away immediately. Someone tried to speak to her, and she turned toward them with an expression that witnesses later described as completely blank, like the lights were off behind her face. Her movements became erratic and unpredictable, arms swinging, feet shuffling in directions that didn't make physical sense. Security arrived and tried to restrain her. It took several minutes and multiple officers before she was contained. No medical cause was ever released to the public. Needle prick? Footage from a Turkish airport showed an ordinary queue people waiting, shifting their luggage, staring at their phones. Then an older woman standing behind a young girl reached forward and pressed a needle into the back of her shoulder. The girl turned around, startled. The woman acted like nothing had happened. At full speed, most people who watched the clip didn't register what they'd seen, but frame by frame, it was unmistakable, deliberate, precise, and over in less than a second. When the video spread online, People who study traditional harmful practices identified it as a method linked to certain rituals where physical contact is used to attach intent to a target. The woman disappeared into the crowd before anyone could intervene. Thank you very much for watching the video. Do like and share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to not miss any of the upcoming amazing videos. Thank you once again.